So, what is his comment about this formula? 汗血在表, the cold pernicious is on the surface. 非干性不能散之. Without sweet and acrid, there's no way to disperse it. 麻黄桂枝甘草之辛甘. The 麻黄桂枝 and 甘草's acrid and sweet, 以发散表血, to push out and disperse the surface pernicious. 水停心下, water has stopped or is stopped below the heart, 而不行 and does not move. 自神气燥. Thus the kidney qi, all of a sudden, what? Kidney qi? Kidney qi is dry, and we think, what's going on here? Neijing yue, he's going to help you understand. The Neijing says, because wait, I've got lungs, I've got cold, how could the kidney qi be irritated, be vexed, be all of that? Neijing yue, the Neijing states, 身苦燥, if the kidneys are suffering from dryness, 即使心已润之, then we must quickly take shin acrid to, and here's that run character, which if we look it up means moisten, but that's not what run really means, to flow smoothly. And obviously if you moisten something, it flows smoothly, but it does not necessarily imply you must oil or lubricate. And in fact, the Neijing is telling us we use acrid, which is drying by nature, but it's moving and dispersing. And so what it's going to do is where things are blocked, it's going to move, and then the system goes, and then things move smoothly. And so that run implies a smoothness of movement, not a moisture of there. Okay? So that's what that's referring to. 干姜, 细辛, 半夏之辛. So the acridity of 干姜, of 细辛, of 半夏, 以行水气而润神. These are going to move the water qi and therefore flow, soften, make better flow the kidneys. I meant to look up a good word in English and I haven't. And I think I said the exact same thing last time. 咳逆而传. We have cough going the wrong way and shortness of breath. 自肺气逆. Obviously the lung qi is going the wrong way. 内经曰, what does the Neijing say about this? 肺与手, if the lungs, if we need to gather the lungs, 即使酸, quickly eat sour, 以手指, to gather or bring in the lungs. 芍药, 无味之酸, we have 芍药 or 无味, the sour of these herbs, 以手逆气而安身. This sourness will gather the rebellious qi and calm the lungs. And then we realize Wu Weizhi is an incredible herb because we often need to use it even when there is a cough and phlegm that the lungs need to be opened, but they're coughing. And so if we don't calm the lungs enough for the herbs to knock out the phlegm and drain it, oftentimes the herbs don't get a chance to do their job in the lungs. And so you'd think it's counterproductive that you've got these herbs that are drying and dispersing the lungs and trying to get stuff out, and then you throw in a sour herb. Like, aren't they going to kind of like get stuck in there? Well, if your dosages are wrong, yes. If it's not the right situation, yes. But actually done correctly, the Wu Weizhi goes in, and once the lungs, when you swallow like a feather or a something, and it's like, and your lungs don't calm down. And I mean, obviously, whatever went in there got wet like a bug. The bug is wet, it's in, it's gone. It's no longer there. But the lungs are now hit a spasm. And once it starts, you can't stop. Wu Weizhi, and it calms it, and then the herbs are able to do their job. And so that's what Wu Weizhi is doing here. It's calming the lungs. Because we have cough and shortness of breath. So they're agitated. So we're calming the lungs. Our cooking directions. These 8 herbs. So we have 1 dough of water. As usual, we cook our ma huang and we cook it down to sheng. We scoop off the stuff I never have. We put in the rest of our herbs. And we take it warm. And it's a big dose. It's a yi sheng. It's 1 full sheng there. And then we need to take a moment here. Because if we look at what looks like commentary here, the little characters, it says 加减法, addition and subtraction method. And if we look at my yellow book, which is also the Shanghanlun, also from the Ming Dynasty, it doesn't have it separated as a commentary. It is in the Yuan one, or the original text, so it's in large characters. Okay? And interestingly, they're in a slightly different order. And then, over here, we see this comment. It includes a comment, and then it includes a comment on the comment. So remember earlier I said how it says, like, this book, they'll add little comments here and say, I fear it might not be correct, like the Guizhi Jia Gegun, and then it's actually Gegun Tang with Ma Huang as opposed to Guizhi. It says, this might have been a mistake, and they're really polite about it, like, ooh, this might have been, and then other places they don't say anything, and these guys do, or this one doesn't. Here, they actually get a little rude. It's great. And on this one, nothing is said, because for him, it's not a problem. And this, much earlier, his commentaries are, 500 years before this commentary came on top of these little notes. And so he does this, and then someone comes along and does some changing and says there's a problem here, and then these people add an extra small comment of like, really? And they're going to get a little rude. So we got some fun here for us. Let's first look at Cheng Wuji's comments, which he has as his commentary, not as part of the original text, which over here is part of original text. So, method of additions and subtractions. 若为例者, if they have slight diarrhea, 去麻黄, take out the ma huang, 加黄花, add 广东花. 如橘子, the size of a chicken egg. 奥零迟色, cook till it turns red, the liquid turns red. 虾痢者, those who are suffering from diarrhea, 不可攻其表, you cannot attack their surface. Now, we've had this enough times so far that once we have water going out the bum, once we have water going down, if you then sweat them on top, they're going to end up with classic Yangming if they're lucky, which means you dried it up, but there's still yang in the body, and you're going to have delirious speech, hard constipation, you hit them with a chengqi tang. If you're unlucky, you wipe them right into taiyin shaoyin because they've got no yang left whatsoever, and then you've got someone who might die on you. So it's bad to sweat someone who's having diarrhea. So he's just clarified that for us. Hanchu, if you sweat them, bi zhangman, they're going to have fullness. Ma huang fa qi yang, ma huang is going to stimulate the yang. Shui zi ru wei, water has settled into the stomach. Bi zuo li. And so the diarrhea that they're coming is because the water, I was saying earlier how the dry nausea means the water isn't in the stomach. Here, the water has now, because water goes wherever it goes. That's why we have all these or symptoms. So the water is settling in the stomach, and because of that, it keeps going through the stomach into the intestines as water, as liquid. And therefore they have diarrhea. But it's slight diarrhea, and so they've got watery stools. They're losing liquid. Kuanhua, Guangdonghua, the herb Guangdonghua, 下12水, it descends the 12 waters. I love that. I mean, what do you do with the 12 waters? Then you have to stop and say, well, what's 12 in Chinese medicine? 12 channels. Okay, so it relieves water that could be associated with the 12 channels. It gets rid of water everywhere. Gancao, travels everywhere. But note, 知干草 does not travel everywhere. 生干草 travels everywhere. Right? Depends on the tinkering. Right? So, Guangdonghua descends water from the 12 channels. It means it's going to get water throughout the body. Right? 水去则离之. Once the water is gone from where it's not supposed to be, then the diarrhea stops. And so they had too much water, and if we get rid of the water, there's no diarrhea. So it wasn't that they had diarrhea because of a diarrhea problem. They just have accumulation of water. And so the water is just being passed out through the stools. And then we have the next one. 若渴者, if they have thirst, 去半夏, get rid of 半夏, 加瓜蒌根3两. Add 瓜蒌根or 天花粉, depending on how you want to call it today, 3两. 心燥 are, hold on, sorry. Yeah. 辛燥, acrid dries, and bitter, and there's that character moistens, but it means allows flow. So if things are blocked, you want the bitter to come in and pull, and then there's space for things to go out. 半夏辛而燥津液. 半夏 is acrid, and therefore dries the fluids. 非渴者所宜. If there's no thirst, it's good to use it. 故取之. Thus, we take it out. If it's good to use 半夏 when there's no thirst and nausea problems like that, then obviously if there is thirst, it's the wrong herb. So we take it out. I love that. 故取之. Therefore, duh. 瓜蒌根为苦而生津. Gualo, its flavor is bitter, and it creates or generates or engenders fluids. 故加之. Therefore, we add it. They're thirsty, add an herb that generates fluids. 若噎者, if they have that choking, that thing I just demonstrated, 去麻黄, get rid of 麻黄, 加附子一枚, put in 1 mei of 附子, 泡, prepared. 近曰, this classic states, 水得寒气, when water receives cold qi, 凉, the cold, 必相搏, there's going to be, the two colds are going to agitate each other, make themselves worse. 杞人疾噎, and thus the person is going to have that retching, that choking, that that. 加附子温散水寒. We're adding 附子 to warm and disperse the water cold. 病人有寒, the patient has cold. 腹发寒, if we give them sweating, 胃中凉, stomach has cold, 必吐虫, the 蛔虫, the bug. So we have back to this idea of if in a certain situation you end up vomiting up parasites. Doesn't mean every time. Was that last time I talked about the parasites? I can't remember where it is anymore. It's the only problem with all the teaching is I have no idea where I've said what anymore. But we have this idea, let's back up to the Fuzi, and we're going to take a look, and we're going to say that they've got this retching. We take out the mahuang, but we add Fuzi. Well, why not add the mahuang, keep the mahuang and add the Fuzi? Well, remember earlier we talked about how if Fuzi meets mahuang in the wrong situation, it exhausts up the yang by making way too much movement. And so it's not that we don't want mahuang, it's that we don't want that much stimulation. And therefore we take it out because Fuzi is going to do enough stimulating on its own. And whether if Fuzi meets guizhi or mahuang, the person can have a really serious sweat that destroys the yang. So that's why that's in there. And so we've got this idea of cold, and if there's cold in the stomach, then you end up vomiting the worms. And that's the idea that once the stomach's gone cold, the worms flee cold and they go to warmth, which is why they're going to come up to the stomach. And then if the stomach gets cold, what the worms that have gone there end up being vomited out, is what's said. So we get rid of mahuang because we do not want to cause a sweat. Hence what I just said. 若小便不利, if the urine is not coming out easily, 小腹满, the lower abdomen is full. 去麻黄, get rid of mahuang, 加茯苓4两, add 4 liang of 茯苓. 水处下焦, water has herded or taken root in or filled up in the lower jiao. 不行, and is not moving. 为小便不利. And so it's not that there's no water, the water's not moving, and therefore you cannot urinate. 小腹满, and the lower abdomen is full. 麻黄, 发积液于外. Mahuang, it pushes the fluids out through the outside. 非所宜也. This is not what we want to do. The water's trapped in the lower abdomen. So we have to figure out, how much of an acrid herb would we have to give to figure out how to get all the water accumulation in the lower abdomen and in your bladder to slowly evaporate through your pores? The damage that would be done to you in this scientific experiment would be severe. Hence, don't do it. So know where the water is, choose the right herb. 茯苓泻出水与下. Fooling is good at getting rid of, dispersing water that has herded or put itself in the lower part of the body. 加所当也. Therefore, it's good to add here. 若传者, if there's shortness of breath. 去麻黄, get rid of the 麻黄. 加行人半声, add half a sheng of 行人. 去皮, get rid of the skin and the ends. 金匮要略, the Jin-Huai says, remember by the time of Cheng Wuji, it's already been separated. All right, so we have the Shanghan Zabing Lung. Zhang Zhongjing wrote one book, and it was all in there together. And then people make it sound like it got dispersed, and then they dug it up, and they found bits and pieces. No, it was such a famous book. Everybody was copying lots of pieces of it, and then something happened, and nobody had the actual one that was complete. And so they reassembled it from Sun Simiao's book, from the Wai Tai book. I mean, it was not a hard reassemble. It was not hard to find the book. It was hard to reassemble it in whatever order they chose. And Lin Yi, in the Tang Dynasty, Song Dynasty, did his reorganization. Lots of information on there. I probably talked about it somewhere. So by his time, there's already the Shanghan Lun and the Jin-Huai. And he's saying, in the Jin-Huai, it says, qi ren xing zhong, if the person's form is heavy. And it's important that form, that body, that xing, it's important to differentiate in Chinese medicine because you can be spirit heavy, or body heavy, or both heavy. But it's going to be different herbs. Just like pain, I talked about pain yesterday. There's the difference between qi pain and blood pain. There's the difference between spirit heavy and form heavy in Chinese medicine. So, the form is heavy. Gu, bu, nei, ma huang. Therefore, we don't put in ma huang. Nei, xing ren, we use xing ren. Yi ma huang fa qi yang gu ye, because ma huang is going to push their yang, gu ye, therefore, ah. Chuan hu, shortness of breath, labored breathing. Xing zhong, the body is heavy. Shui qi, biao ben zhi ji, water qi is both the root and the branch of this illness. It's water all the way through. And by nature, if water all the way through, it's both the symptoms you're seeing and the root cause, that means there has to be a lack of what for water to be that extreme in the body? Fire. Only with a lack of yang to a certain degree could water be both. I mean, when you were in school and you learned like root and branch treatment, this is it, biao ben. That's those characters, biao ben. Right? The biao, what you see on the outside, and the ben, the root. So when water qi is both the biao, the branch, and the root of this illness. And therefore, if ma huang goes in, and you get lucky, and it stimulates the yang, and then the water moves, and they're better, okay, you got lucky. But they don't have a lot of yang. And if that yang, with labored breathing, shortness of breath, and then you give them ma huang, and their heart's got to start going, and the lungs get even more tired, and the yang gets more exhausted, you made things much worse. And that's why you take out the ma huang here. Now, sorry, it's just good. Let us look at this book's commentary. So we have all the same thing of Shanghan, Biaobujie, the surface doesn't go. Xiao Qing Long Tang is your formula. It gives you the herbs. It tells you how to cook it. And then here it goes. 若可, if thirsty, get rid of banxia, add gualogun. 若为li, if there's slight diarrhea, notice that slight, very important. It means it's not something bad. It just means it's water. Get rid of the ma huang, add the guandonghua, the size of an egg, cooked there. If they've got the ye, if they've got that retching, that choking, get rid of the ma huang, add fuzi, that's prepared. If the urine is not flowing and the lower abdomen is full, get rid of the ma huang, add fuling. If there's shortness of breath, get rid of the ma huang, add xing ren. And then it talks about you get rid of it. And then, all of a sudden, 据环花不止水里，蚂蟥住船. Since, obviously, Guandonghua does not treat diarrhea. Right? If you look it up in the book, I don't know what Bensky or the things are going to say. But this person's saying, because it's used for cough. Right? Guandonghua is the famous cough herb. It's one of the flowers that's heavy. So you've got Guandonghua, and then you've got Xuanfuhua, the ones that go down as opposed to getting out. So it's not a diarrhea herb. And ma huang zhu chuan, and we use ma huang to treat shortness of breath. Because remember, we've just had a whole lot of shortness of breath and Ma Huang's in the formula. So all of a sudden, it's saying here, since Quandonghua does not treat diarrhea and Ma Huang is the primary herb for shortness of breath, 仅此也于繁殖. But here, in this case, the words are in opposite. It's saying you use Quandonghua for diarrhea and you take out Ma Huang for shortness of breath. 一非中经义. This certainly not was Zhang Zhongjing's meaning. Okay? Typo, right, wrong copy. So that's what it says here in these big things. Then we get this guy's little characters, right? 陈毅等, these people, 小灵通, their comment on the 小灵通. 大药之水. We are greatly focused on treating water. In parentheses, I'm adding in this formula. Okay? 右安本草. So if we look at the 本草, which is the 神农本草, we have convinced Julianne to next year do a translation of a teaching course like this of the 神农本草with Chen Xiuyuan's commentaries. Chen Xiuyuan's our hero. He's the guy who's up there that I've translated a bunch of his comments, and he's fully full of life and insulting of everyone. He's the one where he talks about why Renshen, everyone's got it all wrong. If you look at Zhongjing formulas, it's cool in water. So Julianne has agreed this morning to go through line by line both the original of the Shandong Bancao and then Chen Xiuyuan's commentaries on it. Yes! Yay! So, according to the Shandong Bancao, Quanhua descends water of the 12 waters, all through the body. 若水去, if there's no water, li zi zhi, then the diarrhea would stop. Yeah, Yo and Qianjin, if we look at the Qianjin, the Jin-Huai, the Qianjin is Sun Simiao's book, where they got a lot of this information. The 1,000 ducat formulas, Sun Simiao's book in the Tang Dynasty. Xingzhong, body heavy. Then it's because there's Ma Huang in there, and thus we got to have the Xingren, because the Ma Huang stimulates the yang, and that's the reason. With these words, considering that these are the words we have in history, then would it not be Zhang Zhongjing's meaning to have these formula changes in here? So you have these people who come along and say, that's wrong, and then this person comes along, his commentary says, really? Are you that much of an idiot that you haven't even read Sun Simiao's book, and you haven't read the Shandong Bancao, which says Quandonghua treats water, and that you'd want to take Ma Huang out in this situation? As I've said before, when you start catching on to these commentaries and where they go, you realize that since there's a time period, it's a bulletin board chat room of insults all through history. And it's like the most polite but slapping language all their guys. I mean, in Chinese, 起飞什么什么什么什么. It's like, wouldn't that not be? And, you could get into a fight over something like that. So, that is Xiao Qing Tang. I love that formula, and then I love the fact that it's got controversy and all of these things, and then all of these additions. This tangent is going to be very short. But when you use Shanghanlun formulas, and it's the right situation, the results are incredibly dramatic. And a couple of things happened. Patient gets better so fast, so quickly, that you change your formula too soon. And then, all of a sudden, everything settles back because you picked a flavor in nature that would have been wrong, but seems right, but actually, they still have some left over. And so if we go to Da Qing Tang, he was talking about how you have this situation, and it's still Da Qing Tang, right? It's not all the way clean. You have to make sure it's clean all the way before you move on. So that's the first thing that happens, is you switch too soon because you're so impressed with the miraculous response and how well the patient looks and how well they tell you. But you've always got to make sure you do tongue, pulse, symptom, and make sure it's cleaned up. But that's less interesting. What also happens is the patient gets better, dramatically better, and then if they're a cancer patient of yours, their white blood cells get better, everything gets better, and then someone gives them the bright idea that this is a good time to go back and get chemo. Since they're doing so well, their body will take it. So let me get this straight. You were doing Western medicine, you had to stop the chemo because you were practically dead, and all of your symptoms were worse. You came to see a doctor of Chinese medicine who was practicing good classical medicine. You got better dramatically. You became symptom-free. You look healthy. Your blood tests come back, and you decide to go back to the people who messed you up because your accounts are good and they tell you that, oh, now you're in a good position to take this? That also happens with the classic formulas, and we're going to end that tangent right there.